I know you've been there, standing on the edge of something you thought was solid, only to feel the ground shift beneath you. Welcome to Revenge Diary TV. I'm Mark Thompson, and tonight you're stepping into a world where trust isn't just broken, it's obliterated. Because the man who sat across from me in that wood-paneled office, Brandon Reed, wasn't just my lawyer. He was the one having an affair with my wife. Olivia and I met at a friend's backyard barbecue. You remember those days, long summer evenings, laughter drifting over the grill smoke. She was perched on a picnic table, sketchbook in hand, doodling sunflowers. I was juggling burgers and beers. One look at her smile, and I thought, I've got to talk to her. Our first conversation ran late into the night. College majors, favorite movies, dreams for the future. By the end of the semester, we were inseparable, late-night study sessions, coffee runs that turned into sunrise walks. 2 years later, I proposed under a string of cafe lights, and she said yes before I could even finish the question. The wedding was a blur of white roses, 2 tight tuxedos, and that miraculous moment when we realized we'd pledged ourselves to forever. Then came Sophie, our wild-eyed, curly-haired miracle, who taught us more about love than any romance novel. 16 months later, sweet, stubborn Luke arrived, and our little family felt complete. We bought a house with chipped stairs and wood-floored warmth, convinced we'd spent the rest of our lives there. But life has a way of surprising you. In those 10 years, we weathered late rent payments, hospital scares, when Sophie's asthma landed her in the ER, job changes, and nights of tears when bills piled up. We fixed every crack because we believed in us. Then, 2 years ago, the cracks grew. Not in a bang-bang betrayal. It was quieter, canceling date nights, sidelong glances, conversations that trailed off. One evening over lukewarm pizza, she sighed. Mark, I'm not sure I love you like I used to. That simple, quiet confession felt like a match thrown on dry tinder. I remember my heart pounding. Not again, not us. That was the night our steady ship started to take on water. We decided on separation, not divorce yet, because we still cared about each other. We agreed to try counseling, to do it for Sophie and Luke if nothing else. We kept living under the same roof until legally untangled. So, we turned to our attorneys. Ordinary people, like you and me, hire lawyers to handle property division, custody, and alimony. You sign documents, pay fees, and trust that professional to advocate for your best interests. But Olivia and I didn't even move out. We split bedrooms, split bank accounts, split chores, yet shared the kitchen table, movie nights for the kids, and awkward hallway passings. It was like living in a glass house with separate rooms, alone together. Counseling felt like going through the motions. The therapist asked again, "What do you need?" We answered, "Time, space, answers." But never once did he ask, "Who do you really confide in?" We tried parenting classes, wore matching volunteer badges for school events. We smiled for the kids, but inside, we were fraying. And through it all, I held on to hope, so dangerous but so human. I believed maybe, just maybe, therapy would rescue us. Then came that Saturday, the ordinary kind you overlook in memory, until it becomes the day your life unravels. I was in my home office, juggling work calls and helping Luke with his reading. Olivia told me she was stepping out for a shower. She left her phone on the kitchen island, face up, buzzing. I glanced at the counter and saw the notification. "I love you and miss you." Just 6 words, but they landed like a bomb. My breath caught. My heart twisted. Not her. Not with anyone. I froze. I stared. The room tilted, sounds warping around me. In that moment, hope shattered. That text wasn't from me. It wasn't from her mom or a friend. It was from someone else, someone Olivia loved. My mind flashed through faces. My buddy Tom from the firehouse? No, that guy's on night shifts. Then it clicked. Jake, the firefighter she mentioned. The friendly guy she'd seen at our block party. Anger crashed in, then devastation. I felt betrayed, but more than that, I felt foolish. How could I have believed everything was fixable? I scrolled through my mental Rolodex. Professors, neighbors, contractors. But I knew deep down who it was. My instincts screamed, "You need help." On Monday, I picked up the phone. Not my friends. They're great, but they'd either lecture or gossip. Not family, they'd panic. I needed clarity. So I called Brandon Reed, my lawyer, my so-called advocate. I pictured his office, dark wood paneling, a leather chair that whispered authority, shelves heavy with law books. I dialed. My heart thumped. Then I said, Brandon, I saw this text on Olivia's phone. It says, I love you and miss you. Brandon, steady. Okay, Mark. Breathe. Tell me exactly what you saw. I spilled it all. The text, the shock, the hope crushed. He listened. No judgment. Professional calm. We'll gather records, file interim motions if needed, and protect your custody rights. He said to me. I felt relief. I believed in him. I handed him my future, because that's what you do when you trust someone with your life. For a week, I lived in limbo. Counseling sessions, phone calls with Brandon, stolen glances at Olivia, trying to read her expression. Was she remorseful? Guilty? Or was she relieved? I couldn't sleep. Every ping of my phone made my heart leap, hoping it was Brandon with news, proof, closure, vindication. Then I received the notice, a disciplinary hearing. Me, Brandon, a panel of Bar Association officials, and the transcript of my complaint. Walking into that hearing room, I felt like I was stepping into another world, one where every secret I'd ever shared would be dissected under fluorescent lights. The courthouse annex smelled of stale coffee and polished wood. My footsteps echoed in the marble corridor as I followed the clerk, clutching my manila folder. Inside, the room was deliberately stark, a long mahogany desk up front, 3 leatherback chairs for the panel, and a handful of hard plastic seats for observers. I took my place at the witness table, heart pounding. On one side sat the court reporter, fingers poised over her machine. On the other, Brandon Reed, my betrayer, sat with perfect posture, pen in hand, reviewing his copy of my complaint. The chair called my name. Mr. Thompson, please state your name and relationship to the respondent. My voice, trembling. I'm Mark Thompson. I retain Mr. Brandon Reed as my attorney for divorce, property division, and child custody matters. They opened with procedural questions, retainer date, scope of services, expected outcomes. I answered with the calm clarity I'd spent days rehearsing. But as soon as they asked me why I filed the complaint, a fresh wave of betrayal washed over me. Then came the killer. Mr. Thompson, please explain the facts that form the basis of your complaint. I swallowed. My hands gripped the edge of the table. Me, calmly. The weekend before Thanksgiving, I discovered a text message on my wife's phone. I love you and miss you. I believed it to be from someone else. I went to Mr. Reed for guidance, only to learn through this hearing that he was the author of that message. My voice cracked. The panel scribbled notes, their faces unreadable. He asked, "Did you confront Mr. Reed about this before filing?" I replied, "I did. I told him what I saw, asked him to investigate. He never revealed the affair. He remained silent while I poured out my heartbreak." I saw Brandon stiffen. His mask of professionalism cracked for a heartbeat. "Do you have any documentary evidence, emails, call logs, to support your claim?" I replied, "No." In the moment, I trusted him to handle that. I didn't think to preserve text records. That admission felt like handing the panel the hammer to crush me. No proof, only my word against his. "Very well. We will now hear from Mr. Reed." Brandon stood, brushed lint from his jacket, and nodded to the panel. He held the microphone like a well-rehearsed actor about to deliver a soliloquy. It was a surreal moment. My own lawyer, the man who cheated with my wife, was given the opportunity to question me under oath. "Brandon Reed, Mr. Thompson, is it correct that you paid me $1,500 for a retainer?" My heart pounded, but I answered steadily, "Yes." It was hard for me to shake off the feeling that the same man who had an affair with my wife, the man who betrayed me and made me question everything, is the one cross-examining me in court. Does it get any worse than that? He continued with his questions, leaning forward, as if he was trying to force words into my mouth. "Did I ever suggest I would discuss returning a portion of that fee if you were dissatisfied?" He framed it as reasonableness, like a good lawyer would. Me, firm no. "You told me you had done significant work and felt you earned every penny." He paused, as though searching his memory. Then he pressed further. Mr. Thompson, you testified you asked for an apology. Do you recall that? I inhaled. I answered, yes. I asked, don't you owe me an apology for having an affair with my wife? And you said, I'm sorry for all that. He nodded slowly, then tried to recast his apology as genuine contrition, then asked again, do you recall any willingness on my part to make amends beyond that apology? No. You never discussed a refund or professional recourse, just that apology. He shifted tactics, leaning on a tale of personal struggle. He paused, looking down as though he felt remorse for what he did. In my defense, I was going through my own divorce, battling alcoholism. I felt isolated, and Mrs. Thompson showed me kindness. He portrayed himself as a wounded man, not as a deceiver. He continued, I regret not withdrawing from the case sooner. The chair asked, why did you not withdraw, Mr. Reed? Brandon's calm facade faltered. It was awkward, he said. I wasn't sure when or how to inform Mr. Thompson. He described his rationalizations, how he justified his attraction, how he framed Olivia's support as something that just happened. It was grotesque, an officer of the court trying to excuse betrayal as the byproduct of vulnerability. Another question came right the same moment. Mr. Reed, do you understand the ethical obligations you breached? He nodded, eyes downcast. Yes, I violated my fiduciary duty. The room held its breath. Then the chair delivered the verdict. Chair, Mr. Reed, this panel suspends your license to practice law for 3 years, effective immediately. His suspension was severe, but not as final as what came next. You'd think a 3-year suspension would have been the end of Brandon Reed. But karma doesn't just tap politely on the door, it knocks it down. 3 months after his suspension took effect, I got a call from the State Bar's investigative unit. Mr. Thompson, we've opened a secondary review into Mr. Reed's conduct. There's been another complaint. We need to confirm whether you're aware of any other possible victims. I wasn't surprised. Disappointed, maybe, but not shocked. When someone betrays with that level of arrogance, it's rarely their first offense. And sure enough, they uncovered more. Forged client signatures, unreturned retainers, missed court deadlines. He wasn't just unethical, he was reckless. The second disciplinary hearing wasn't as quiet as mine. This time, there were headlines. One paper ran the story. Disgraced divorce attorney disbarred after affair with client's wife. That headline should have felt like justice. But it didn't. Justice doesn't always feel like a gavel hitting a desk. Sometimes it's just silence. People ask me what happened next. With the case. With Olivia. With the kids. With me. Let's talk about Olivia first. After the hearing, she came home like nothing had happened. No apology. No tears. She said, so what now? You gonna fight me in court or just move on? I didn't answer. I packed my clothes, walked out, and never looked back. We finalized the divorce with a different attorney, someone with integrity. I got joint custody. We agreed to alternate weeks, birthdays, and Christmases. But emotionally, I didn't see Olivia as the same person anymore. Not the girl I met at the laundromat 15 years ago. Not the mother of my kids. Just a stranger in familiar skin. The kids. That was harder. How do you explain betrayal to children without poisoning their minds? I kept it simple. Mom and Dad are working through some grown-up problems. But we both love you always. They didn't need the whole truth. Just my presence, my reliability. That was enough. Me? I went to therapy. Every Tuesday at 3 p.m., I sat on a fake leather couch and unpacked the wreckage. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the trust. How do you learn to trust again when the two people you needed most conspired behind your back? It's like learning to walk after a bad accident. Painful, clumsy, slow. Looking back now, I've asked myself 1,000 times, how didn't I see it? And the honest answer is, I did. But love has a way of softening the edges of suspicion. I noticed Olivia was texting more, but I thought it was her sister. I noticed she started dressing up for errands, but I figured she was just reclaiming confidence. I noticed Brandon was too casual, too relaxed during our meetings, but I chalked it up to personality. You don't want to believe the worst in people you've trusted with your heart or your future, so you rationalize. You protect your peace by ignoring your instincts. That's the danger of betrayal. It doesn't just come from outside. It's the inside voice that whispers, "You're overreacting." It's the doubt you plant in yourself. And that's what cuts the deepest. You know who I am now. I'm the guy who double-checks everything. The guy who asks questions even when it feels awkward. The guy who reads contracts twice, and relationships even more carefully. I don't say that with pride. I say it with awareness. Pain matures you in ways success never can. Professionally, I pivoted. I left my old job at the bank and started a small consulting firm. I work with clients going through tough transitions, divorces, layoffs, relocations. And when they say, "I feel like I can't trust anyone," I nod, because I've lived it. I wear the scars beneath my sleeves. To anyone listening, maybe you've been lied to. Maybe someone you trusted turned around and weaponized that trust. Maybe you're in the middle of it right now. Here's what I'll say. It won't kill you. Will it break you? Sure, but you will rebuild. You will stand again. Maybe slower, maybe shakier, but wiser, sharper, and more compassionate than before. Because once you know how betrayal feels, you try a little harder to never make anyone else feel it. As for Brandon, he lost everything. His license, his clients, his so-called reputation. Olivia, she moved to another state with a new man. I hear the relationship didn't last. But me? I got something better. Peace, clarity, and the chance to tell my story to you. Thank you for listening.